Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead on a Prayer. In case you're new here, my name's Jennifer, and as you probably guessed, this video is going to be all about planting garlic. Now in my area, fall is the time to plant garlic to get the best results. I know there are people who plant garlic in the spring. I think there may be some varieties that prefer to be planted in the spring, but here in Connecticut, I have consistently had the best results with garlic that I've planted in the fall. So today we're going to be planting two varieties of garlic. The first is this German white or German extra hardy. I think that's the same variety, just with two different names. This garlic, this is actually garlic that I grew in my garden this past year. I just harvested it this summer. This I've consistently grown in my garden for years and has consistently done really well for me. So this is a great variety for my area. I'm also going to be trying a new variety this year. I've never grown before. I have heard that it's not always the most successful in Connecticut, so we're going to be experimenting, but I've really wanted to try growing elephant garlic. So we are going to be planting some elephant garlic today too. So this is the bed where I'm going to be planting my garlic this year. This is an 8-foot by 4-foot raised bed. This is a new bed that we just installed this past spring, and I did use it over the summer for growing some summer crops, but the ultimate plan for this was to be used to grow garlic. So I went ahead and pulled out the summer crops and I added some new fresh compost to the top of this bed, so it's ready to be used for some delicious garlic. So when you are saving your own garlic to replant, what you want to look for is the garlic heads that have the largest cloves. Those may or may not be the largest heads overall, but a big clove is likely to produce a big head, and of course that's what we're going for here. So when I harvested my garlic crop this past July, I went through the yield, I went through all of the garlic heads, and I chose the ones with the largest cloves, and I set those aside to be planted for this year. This is a hardneck garlic variety. If you are familiar with garlic, you know that hardneck garlic is the variety that will produce scapes for you. And that's a delicious second harvest, but that's a topic for another video. We'll talk about that more in the spring and summer. But hardneck garlic, for the most part, will produce a head with larger but fewer cloves. So you can see, I apologize for my rooster. He really wants to be involved in this garlic conversation with us. He's actually free ranging today, so he's right behind this camera, so hopefully that's not too loud for you guys. Anyway, back to garlic. So this garlic head is a great example. The garlic head overall is fairly small. You can see that it only has 4 cloves, but the cloves that are in this garlic head are really large, so these will be really good for replanting. So I usually end up saving about 20 to 25% of my garlic harvest to plant. This year, or at least in the future, I've always in the past grown garlic in a small 4x4 raised bed. Now that I'm planning to move it into rotation in this garden over here, where it will have an 8x4-foot raised bed, I want to gradually increase the amount of garlic that I'm growing. I'm hoping that eventually we'll be able to grow enough garlic that we don't have to buy it at the store anymore to supply all our garlic needs. So when you're planting your garlic, you want to have nice, rich soil. So this is compost. This is homemade compost. As you can see, admittedly, it may not be 100% fully broken down yet. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk and hoping that it will be okay and not negatively affect my garlic harvest. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully you don't have another video from me at the end of next growing season saying that was a mistake. But I really think it'll be okay because the garlic is going to sit in this bed all winter and have time to just kind of get settled, and the compost over the course of that time I'm hoping will continue breaking down enough. So now that we've chosen the garlic that we're going to plant, what we want to do is very carefully split the cloves apart. So we want to remove just this outer paper that's holding the cloves together. We want to make sure that the cloves keep their individual inner papers. We don't want to take this off like we would if we're cooking, because this is what is going to protect the garlic and help keep it safe from rot or anything else that could happen to it while it grows. So we're just going to go ahead and split up these garlic cloves, and then we're going to get planting. Now I do just want to show you here, since I mentioned that this is hardneck garlic, this hard stalk here is basically what defines hardneck garlic. It's got this really stiff stalk in the middle, and all the cloves are in a ring, usually with hardneck garlic, a single ring around this stalk here. This stalk is actually where the garlic scape or the garlic flower came up earlier this spring, and we enjoyed those earlier this summer and they were delicious. Now this garlic head here, I had actually waited a little bit too long to harvest, and you can see how it started to split, but it looks like, even though this wouldn't hold up as long in storage, it looks like it did last well enough that I'll be able to plant these. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. So I've got all my garlic cloves all split up. We've got 76 of these German white cloves. So assuming all goes well and they all sprout for us, that's going to mean 76 heads of garlic that we get to harvest next summer. Garlic is one of the easiest crops to grow in your garden. And even though I know people always think of probably of the more glamorous vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, some of those seem a little more fun and exciting, but honestly, homegrown garlic is delicious. It's so easy to grow, and once you've invested in your seed garlic once, if you save your own garlic to replant year after year, it's almost free to grow. So it's a great cost savings. And I find garlic is one of my favorite things to grow because just the feeling of it being the dead of winter outside, my garden's completely dead, but I know that I still have homegrown garlic hanging in my garage that I grew myself. I can still eat out of the garden all winter long. So for that reason, I really love to grow garlic. Now, as I mentioned, garlic is one of the easiest vegetables to grow. So really all that I do is once I've amended the bed, I'll make a little hole. We want to plant the garlic with the flat side down and the pointy side up. Basically this part here, the roots are going to come out of this part and the stem is going to come out of the pointy part. So we want to make it as easy as possible for the garlic to grow and plant it facing the right way. So I plant my garlic deep enough that when we cover it back up, it'll have about 1 inch of compost on top of it. You're going to hear all kinds of opinions when it comes to how far apart to space your garlic. And honestly, I don't know if there is necessarily one right answer to that. I think a lot of it really depends on your soil fertility. If you have really fertile soil and the garlic is going to have the ideal growing conditions, you can get away with spacing it quite a bit closer than you could if you have poorer soil. So I like to space mine probably about between 4 and 6 inches apart. So that's what I'm going to do. And I don't worry about row spacing. This is true for anything in my garden. I just find the ideal plant spacing, or what I consider the ideal plant spacing, which is not always the same as what everyone else does. And then I space it that same distance in all directions. So within the row, I'm going to space the garlic about 4 to 6 inches apart. Then I'm going to make the next row another 4 to 6 inches behind that, and so on and so forth until all of the garlic is planted. So let's take a look at these elephant garlic bulbs that I got in the mail. These are huge, which I guess isn't really surprising for something called elephant garlic. Now, elephant garlic is not actually a garlic. I think most people say it's actually a member of the leek family, but because the flavor is so much like garlic, people use it like garlic, it's called elephant garlic. So I'm going to plant this about the same way that I planted the other garlic. I'm probably going to give it slightly more spacing. I'll probably give it maybe a full 6 inches instead of the 4 to 6 that I gave the other garlic. But I still want to plant it deep enough that it'll be covered by about 1 inch of compost. And aside from that, we're going to plant it exactly the same. Now I have some here like this one where I think during shipping the wrapper kind of came off of it. I'm still going to plant this. I'm not sure how well it's going to do, but we're going to give it a try and we're going to hope for the best of this. Now I only have 16 cloves of the elephant garlic, so I'm just going to plant a couple rows of the elephant garlic down at this end of the bed. The end of the bed by the trellis is going to be my German white garlic, and this far side is going to be elephant garlic. This is personal preference, but I like to wait until I have all the garlic planted before brushing the soil back over them. That way I know exactly where it's planted and I can make sure that I don't plant too close or leave any empty space. The last thing that I like to do when I'm planting garlic is to make sure to mulch it with a nice thick layer of fallen leaves. Now, you don't have to use fallen leaves. In fact, some people prefer not to use fallen leaves. You could use straw. There's all kinds of mulching materials that you could use. I like to use fallen leaves because I mean, I basically live in the woods. Fallen leaves are everywhere, they're free. They'll eventually decompose and add some great organic matter back to the soil. So we're just gonna go grab a couple wheelbarrowfuls of fallen leaves from the edge of my woods, and we're going to give our garlic just a nice thick blanket to keep it warm during the winter. So our garlic is all planted and tucked in. I'm really excited to watching this garlic grow next year, and especially trying that new variety. You know, the elephant garlic is something I've been wanting to try. It is a little bit questionable if it's going to do really well in my cold north, but we'll give it a try and we're gonna see how it is. So thank you so much for joining me and hanging out with me while we planted garlic on this beautiful fall day today. I hope that you're encouraged to try growing garlic yourself. It really honestly is one of the easiest plants that you can grow, and so delicious and rewarding. I definitely hope that you will check back and hang out with me again. And as the season goes on, next year I will definitely give you updates on how this garlic grows next year. And in the meantime, we have lots of other fun projects going on, so I hope that you will join me for those. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're enjoying a beautiful fall, and I can't wait to see you soon. I'll see you next time.